So we've been talking about how both players, they've definitely not kind of breezed their way through, but there is a lot of pressure on both of them to make sure that their series here is tip-top. Because if they're going up against the likes of, you know, EU and CIS's absolute best of the day, they need to get that warm-up now.
They do indeed, and it seems like we're almost ready to kick this off. Awoken is going to be the first bout between the two of them. Nyx for Dahang, Cha1n on the Athena. A pick that I'm surprised he's actually been allowed to bring through. He has had quite a few wins under his belt in recent form with that Athena, and he's damn good in terms of the grapple. His movement is second to none on it.
And of course also the Strog ban coming out right away on Cha1n.
Yes.
Very clear why that is the case. Dahang is by far the best Strog player in the world, if not so much for his movement, most definitely for those peeker skills that are absolutely unrivaled. We've seen him do major damage with it earlier, so absolutely makes sense for Cha1n to take a hold of that champion. And also he's picking Slash for himself on map 2. We know that Dahang is also really strong with Slash. Both crouch sliders are really right up his alley, so he won't be able to use two of his favorite movement champions.
That's a lot of restrictions imposed on him immediately by a player like Cha1n, which in reality going into this, I think there is a scenario where he actually could be the favorite now. After looking at that veto, I would not be surprised if we were to see a Cha1n upset and could maybe have a battle of Cha1n versus Cypher in the cross region play. I'm going to say 2-1 Cha1n. Ryan, yourself?
Oh, it's a really hard one to answer, but if we're going by today alone, I do strongly think Dahang can bring it at the finals, and I've got confidence in Dahang. I think 2-1.
I'm also going to favor Dahang, just because of the experience on these large tournaments. Yes, he's been a bit shaky, but I think that he'll probably be able to still pull it through in the end.
Dan, final thoughts on that one? Who's taking it?
Cha1n.
Yeah, 2-1 split?
Yeah.
All right, I can see it happening. I feel like there's definitely a lot of stock riding on this young man. He has looked beautiful inside and outside of the game recently. And talking of it, it seems like we are ready to get underway. Awoken will be the opening map. Flea, Ryan, strap in for this one, as it should be a rodeo.
I mean, we're not the only ones that are going to need to strap in for this first map. The nature of Awoken just means that, I mean, you can really go straight off the starting line swinging on a map like this, and a lot of pressure. You've got to make sure you're hitting those early shots. That first frag can kind of just be the beginning of the end, depending on how one-sided you can force it. Both these players are very momentum-based, you can say that again. We're loading up now to Dahang versus Cha1n. Important matchup coming up. Let's go.
Starting things off on Cha1n's perspective, he is of course using the Athena, instantly pushing out aggressively, but that railgun shot is going to make him think twice of just barreling through with no regard for safety or caution. Getting some of the weapons he needs, but he still needs to get a hold of the railgun. Of course, on the other side of the map, Dahang, well aware that his opponent doesn't have it just yet. I like Cha1n's positioning here though, not going for the weapon straight away, waiting for the Mega to spawn first. And now he's just going to loop right back around, getting himself a nice few speed boosts. Rockets are doing a lot of damage as well. Dahang might be forced to use the Ghost Walk, and that's exactly what he needs to do to get out of there alive.
Yeah, a couple of layers to that one. Cha1n not going in for the rail because it's a bit too obvious, and at the same time, if he can stand back and fight, get some free damage, get the Mega, and then use those grappling hooks, that is a quick little frag to seize control over Dahang just before we hit that first minute mark. There's a lot of reads being made by Cha1n. The LG, now that Mega's been taken, this grappling hook is likely going to seal the fate of Dahang if Dahang can't escape, but I think that he's done so much damage, even with that Mega, that Cha1n needs to show it some respect. He is going to be in a better position to get this heavy, though. And right now, Dahang kind of vanished off the map for a little bit. He has no interest in looking for a fight just yet. And those prediction tri-bolts, they are going to be hard to land with that kind of grapple hook that Cha1n consistently uses. Very hard to get a solid read on an Athena in an open space when she can truly just be anywhere, and Cha1n's execution on it is ridiculously good.
Yeah. I also think that Dahang himself is being forced heavily in the defensive. This could be so bad for the American player. The rocket needs to be sublime. Cha1n will, however, be the one to take the frag. Not that much stack left. Dahang might be able to make something out of this, but I like what Cha1n has been doing. He's been consistently pressuring Dahang a lot, forcing out the Ghost Walk constantly, and that has put his opponent on the back foot and stopped him from being able to take these aggressive positions. And when Dahang does put himself out there, such as he just did on the Heavy, Cha1n is always able to clean up the frag just because he keeps denying the ability to his opponent. And that was a lot of LG. Cha1n has to back away. Heavy should be going to his opponents.
And now it's that tricky position where you have to retreat back up to those lights, but knowing Dahang, he knows where you have to go to get those resources back up. So it's good that Cha1n has that added mobility. The added mobility definitely saved his skin after that missed rail, that's for sure. Got him out with barely anything remaining. But we can see Dahang, he's laying on that aggression now. And he's going to have to take a bit of a risk if he's going to pump through that teleporter. Looks like Dahang has other plans to try and get some of that free damage. And just like that, Dahang may not be in the lead with frags, but he is certainly the one with the dominance.
Definitely so. He's got a nice little rotation going on for the two major items, just picking up Heavy as well. He's already in place for the Mega Health. Cha1n, however, evading him nicely. Oh, this was a misplay by Dahang. Having messed up the timing right there, or perhaps just not expecting Cha1n to be that aggressive. And hang on. Canadian is doing so much damage as well. Dahang kind of stuck in banana right now. Cha1n, well aware of this, knows he doesn't have the Ghost Walk, wants to punish his advantage as much as he possibly can. One more rail will do it, and Dahang will fall once more. That was definitely a misplay. He was cycling the items so nicely, and then there came that situation where he wanted to pressure Cha1n just a bit more, but in doing so, he allowed his opponent to just zip straight up with that hook and steal away the Mega. Dahang now trailing by 3 frags.
With how Cha1n is approaching this, it's hard to assume he's just going to simply give up the lead. He's playing incredibly well. And again, he catches Dahang in an unfavorable position. Not the first time, he's kind of trapped him in that situation. Heavy, fair few seconds from spawning. Even though that was a suicide, I mean, he was dead there. That was either going to be a +4 or a -1. Either way, Cha1n's going to be happy with that.
-1. I think that's the first one I've seen in any of the games I've costed this tournament. That's gotta hurt, and that is no doubt going to give Cha1n a bit of a boost in confidence. Seeing your opponent not even breaking the 0-point mark, that of course will incite him to do more and more damage, and that is about as good as Dahang could have hoped for. The trade coming out. It's a race towards the Heavy, but Dahang, realizing that Cha1n got the better spawn, just decides to get out of there as soon as he can. Does mean that he will be losing out on the items. What aggression from Dahang! Perhaps a bit misplaced, as Cha1n is now 5 frags up.
And he's mastering the execution on top of it. The shots are being set up, and he's being able to finish the job with these delicious rails, but I'm really liking this general hold he's had over Dahang. It feels like at no point has Cha1n kind of been unsure where Dahang is on the map. He's often had an angle ready. This grappling hook, these pushes, these attacks, they've been working wonders. Dahang knocked up into the air. No! He's going to have to give up the Mega for this. And he misses the rail too. That was an unfortunate time to have to pop the Ghost Walk. And he jumps down for the rail. Would have been a kill shot. Lots of pressure on Dahang to hit the shot. Misses it again, but now we have to go in. Shut down the Heavy. Dahang was kind of half looking for that just to get some damage. But the moment that grappling hook was used, Dahang really nowhere to run or hide. That Ghost Walk being down. The weakness of Nyx can start to show through when she has no backup plan.
Cha1n is looking incredibly strong right now. Just look at the rail shots time and time again. Yes, Dahang managed to trade that one, but that was at an extremely convenient time for Cha1n, because even though he took some damage himself, Mega was up, Heavy's about to spawn, he can easily cycle both items again, and Dahang, being a small, light champion, has nothing to work with in stack in terms of armor.
There's a lot of pressure on Dahang now. Just look at the stack difference. Forever, Cha1n is the one that's controlling most of it. He's got more health, more armor, 7 frags in the lead. This will be another easy pickup. Dahang, even if he hit that rail, would have mattered very little. As Cha1n continues to, not only that, but every time he gets a frag, it's kind of just in time for the next rotation of items, isn't it, Flea?
Absolutely so. all of these engagements are happening exactly when and where Cha1n wants them to. He's always got a backup plan, and even if he takes a few bad rockets like that one, just look at the stack difference. We've got 2 light champions up against each other, which means that Dahang has got next to nothing to work with when he spawns, and Cha1n is abusing that to perfection. Dahang might go down once again. Cha1n, nice position right here, but of course Dahang knows exactly where he is. He can hear the buzz and the hum of the weapons and decides not to show his face, but he needs to do a lot more than just evade the damage. He needs to dish it out, and a lot of it too, with 2.5 minutes left to go.
Dahang was able to somehow escape that situation. The 180 rail off the grappling hook from Cha1n. That certainly was a nice shot. But the pressure's on Dahang. He knows he has to be aggressive, and he knows he has to try and make something happen. He has, at this point, maybe even run out of time officially. Being able to daisy chain 8 frags together as fast as Dahang needs to versus a Cha1n that has this mobility and has the ability to just get away from fights, even, you know, 5 seconds a time. That's enough time to waste this late on in the map. Damage going through, another rail, and if this map wasn't over already, it certainly is now after that one. This is a fantastic way to start the series. And Cha1n can keep this momentum all the way through, you would assume.
Oh, absolutely. If he can, this should be a 2-0. I am loving the aggression out of Cha1n. Did you even see him hook towards the hang below him with the LG? Cha1n was just like, oh, you're there? You've got the lightning gun? I shouldn't drop on you. Okay, I'm just gonna drop on you even faster by hooking myself towards you. He didn't actually manage to drop down, but that was such an aggressive, confident play. Dahang really on the back foot right now. He's trying to chain together a few frags. So far gotten himself 2 on the board, but he needs 7 more with barely more than a minute to do it in.
And Cha1n has the ability to escape pretty much whenever he wants. You just heard the rocket jump activated. If it wasn't a rocket jump, it was a grappling hook, but damage is real. The aggressive Cha1n push, the backup on the rail, that rail would have been a kill shot, but because of Cha1n's armor, he tanks the return fire. 1 minute warning with 8 frags. Yeah, GG's. Dahang has got this ability to forget about unfavorable maps and go into each map as a new experience, which is going to matter a great deal in this series. But if you're Cha1n right now, this is a great way to start off.
Yeah, I do hope that Dahang will be able to do so though, because if you watch his own personal stream, you sometimes see that he manages to get into his own head and he will start blaming himself, making these kinds of mocking jokes about him messing up or missing shots. So hopefully this loss won't get to him too much, because you just know that he's been sitting there at his desk going, well done, Tim, or nice rails whenever he missed a shot. So clearly putting a lot of pressure on himself. And he's just got to shake those negativity coming into map 2.
Well, we're 10 seconds from this being a done deal. Not that it wasn't a done deal a fair few minutes ago. There has to be said, Cha1n played this incredibly well. A massive part of that was his rails were pretty damn on point again. Always nice to see Cha1n, like when his rails are on form, it's highly impressive. The amount of rails that he fired, that 56% accuracy, but it has to be said though, Dahang fired 65 rails and only hit 19 of them. It's funny that you should mention Dahang and his own kind of the fact that he beats himself up a little bit. His rail accuracy was some of the lowest that we've seen all day, and hopefully he is able to kind of forget about those things, because he was clearly outgunned by Cha1n throughout that entire map.
Absolutely. Now, on the one hand, Athena is a very difficult champion to hit, especially when she's just hooking all around the map. She's also got that tiny frame, so very difficult to land the relay shots on consistently. But on the other hand, 29% is uncharacteristically low for a player like Dahang, even when going up against a champion like Athena. So as we were discussing before we jumped into this map, Dahang really wasn't looking all that strong earlier today. A bit rusty, a bit shaky. Really hope he can refine that core skill, those point mechanics that we all know him for, and really bring it on Blood Covenant.
There's a lot of pressure. You can definitely say that until the cows come home, that Dahang, off the back of that, it's a little bit alarming. And I know we were talking about players being, well, actually in the subject of Cha1n and Dahang together, being a bit inconsistent, but on a map-by-map basis. You kind of feel a little bit flea like we got that exact example again, only this time this was Cha1n when he was on, and this was Dahang when he was off. I mean, even check that out, 57% rail, not too shabby, but ultimately it was that movement. And the fact that Cha1n has got one of the best Athenas in the business. He has this real kind of sixth sense for just in the middle of those fights. There are a couple of instances where Cha1n was in a really large spot of bother off one of the items or something similar. Dahang would start stringing a wonderful amount of LG or some damage, and Cha1n's able to get away with just enough stack that the fight is over. And he can re-engage later, he can lick his wounds, Awoken has a ton of little lights to take, and get straight back into the fight. It's always a treat watching Cha1n play this champion. And it seemed very tricky for Dahang to crack into.
I mean, and this is something that we discussed before jumping into the map, right? The movement. Dahang is a player that's got amazing fundamental skills, but he relies a lot on his movement to be able to put himself in these good situations, to utilize them to their full extent. And this time around, Cha1n again playing the faster, more mobile champion than his opponents, so it's going to be difficult for Dahang to be able to get into that groove of his and see if he can actually make something happen. Now, on the better side of things though, playing Ranger, he will have the orb up a lot because Blood Covenant is a map where you've got a ton of those hourglasses, so you can downgrade that recharge timer for your ability a lot. And he's also playing Slash, which is a champion that doesn't typically use her ability all that often, so that means there's probably going to be a fair few hourglasses for him to collect constantly throughout the map.
Well, we're loading into the map right now. There's a high pressure both these players, just to remind everyone that this is a matchup to fight one of the gods of the weekend. Whoever wins this is going to move on to face Cypher in the cross-regional bracket. So this is just step one. There's already a bit of a storyline going on. Dahang has been that kind of undisputed number 2 of the Americas for a long time. But man, Cha1n has been hungry to kind of take that spot and reach that next level for himself. And he's one map away. If he can secure this 2-0 versus Dahang, not only is that a great result, but then he has one hell of a challenge after this.
Starting things off on Cha1n's perspective right here, of course, he's got the faster champion. He wants the railgun. Dahang knows this too, and Dahang wants to deny this. Just setting up towards the rail. He knows that Cha1n can just jump across because of that speed boost you can get with the slash, and Dahang does not want to allow him to get across. On the other hand though, Dahang, lacking quite a few weapons of his own, doesn't have LG, probably doesn't have rockets yet either, so both players a little bit handicapped right now in terms of what they can do. This is not yet the time for full aggression. Both just want to get stacked up and complete their arsenal.
I am worried about Dahang's rail. I know it's unfair to constantly point out someone's lack of accuracy against someone like Athena on a map where they're constantly in and out, but the rail is so important on this map. And we're already seeing a miss come out. It's 2 misses in a row, although Cha1n is going really aggressive! The plasma trail trap almost worked, but Dahang, screw the rail, I'm getting the rockets out.
And sometimes that's all you need in these close quarter engagements, up with a small squishy champion that is guaranteed to have a smaller base tag than you. So Dahang framing that fight perfectly, landing the shots exactly the way he needed to, putting himself 1-0 up. Now looking at the item timers, both of them are spawning pretty close to one another, so it's unlikely for either player to be able to get both in one and the same rotation. Looks like Dahang trying to figure out which would be the best for him to go to. That is a nasty rail to take that is going to preclude him from making a move onto Mega off the bat. That was a bad jump to take at that time. Cha1n came out around the corner so quick. Dahang was absolutely not ready for his opponent to be able to get an angle on him there.
Items have just spawned, but Cha1n's going to use this as an opportunity to be aggressive, more pressure to get those crazy vertical shots. It's no wonder both players miss those angles, because this is one of the most notorious parts of any map, really, to hit those rails on, especially when you're both trying so hard not to get hit yourself with the stack that they did not have at the time. Speaking of no stack though, Dahang needs a little bit of armor. Thankfully with the Ranger, the less self-damage passive that he receives means those rocket jumps are a bit, less risky than they would be for other picks, but that doesn't stop Cha1n from having the mobility and the position to establish control 2.5 minutes in. Now there's pressure on Dahang. You've got to hit those shots. You've got to get rid of that stack for Cha1n. But Cha1n has been positioning himself so well all day long, really.
And he has a near perfect 15-second delay between the Mega and the Heavy. So Cha1n, if he can pick up one of those, he'll be almost guaranteed to get the other as well, if he can maintain this position of control. Dahang seeding and giving up his place towards Mega, looking to do exit damage instead. Doesn't want to take the confrontation just yet because, of course, he's one frag in the lead. Dahang, did you not see Cha1n drop down and fly by at the bottom of the screen? Looked like he was a little slow to react to that, but
you know what? That could have been worse.
could have been a lot
been
worse. If Cha1n had pushed aggressively towards the blood pool and Dahang was sitting there looking up, that could have been disastrous and tied things up 1-1. But luckily for him, Cha1n just went for the item instead, and Dahang slowly rebuilding his stack, getting close to that 100-100.
And Dahang must play the slow game. You can't get caught too out in the open. I have been paying very close attention to his rail, or lack of, in this case, and I do fear that Cha1n is going to really prey on this like a viper. Just orb used to save his skin. I agree with its usage there, because you could see that Cha1n could smell blood in the water. He was so aggressive in that exchange. But that movement doesn't stop him from being able to keep the pressure. Speaking of movement, Cha1n just appears out of nowhere, and once more, he's bullying Dahang away.
What?
Dahang? What? That did 71 as well. Bloody hell.
These rockets, that was 200 rocket damage in that exchange, most of which dealt when he couldn't even see Cha1n as he was firing the shots. So Cha1n might actually have to give up heavy, but Dahang taking that final rail, that was so crucial for Cha1n. If he hadn't landed that final shot, Dahang would have been able to steal the heavy armor, but Cha1n still landed a nice little cheeky rail, and that forced Dahang to drop away and give up positioning on the item. Cha1n hyper aggressive right now. The LG is looking good. Dahang lands a rail, but he needs more than that, as Cha1n ties things up around the halfway mark of this map, 1-1.
Worth pointing out that so far the Dire Orb has almost exclusively been used to reposition Dahang more than it's been used in any of these fights. Dahang is just trying to get out of situations, maybe he's trying to match that mobility that she has. The danger is that when that Dire Orb is gone, you know Cha1n is ready for it, and there's such little Dahang can do. He finally has an angle, and he sets it up with a rail shot. That's going to be something, but it's nowhere near enough. Cha1n happy to repay that in kind as well. Another rail goes unreturned on the flip side. He's going all aggression. Again, Dire Orb used to try and save his skin, but is Cha1n going to be aggressive anyway? Looks like he will be. He's going to go full speed ahead, take a decent chunk of damage, but nothing to really worry about. There's a light in play, the heavy is just spawned as well, and again, Cha1n takes the lead.
I feel like Dahang isn't entirely ready for the speed at which Cha1n is coming in.
Oh, direct flee!
Okay.
Such a sick rocket, making it 3-1 already. In the blink of an eye, he's been able to score himself 2 frags. Anyway, you were saying, mate.
Cha1n looking like he might actually take this 2-0. But what I was about to say is that it seems like Dahang just isn't ready for the speed at which Cha1n is coming at him, right? He keeps setting up for that opening railgun and he lands the rail, but by the time he can even switch to a different weapon, Cha1n is already on him with rockets or LG. So he seems to be underestimating the pace at which Cha1n can catch up with him. And here we go though, Dahang using the orb rightly, closing the distance and bringing it back to a 1 frag game.
Cha1n's not out of the woods here. It's 15 seconds until heavy spawns, and I like Dahang's choice actually to sort of pressure near the rail first. The rail has been quite the miracle weapon for Cha1n throughout this entire series, and if Dahang's able to get any free damage he can while Cha1n takes that magic weapon, he'll happily do it. Speaking of which, armor in the favor of Dahang. Cha1n can use that mobility to try and play elusive, a little bit defensive, hasn't really got the time to go for 100% yet. You can't give up too much control here, because if Dahang gets stacked up and a orb becomes available, Cha1n has to be surgical to make sure that he does not put himself in a bad position. That missed rail was going to come with a heavy cost. That plasma trail forced out of him just to make sure he doesn't get punished for the missed shot.
Dahang now managing to take a nice bit of control back. Good rocket exchange. Cha1n down to 75 points of health. 1 rail will spell disaster for him. There we go! Exactly as we were discussing it. Dahang shoots him in the back, claims himself the Mega as a reward too. Hang on, he might actually find Cha1n again. No, Cha1n makes the right decision. I think he heard something come out of the hangover on that side of the map and decided to divert his pathing away from the LG, which would have been a death trap for sure. And so he at least secured himself the heavy. 3-3. I can imagine both players wanting to slow things down a bit more right now, because these frags this late in the game, even a single point of difference can make all the difference.
The objective for Dahang, keep the stack high. We haven't even touched on his timing yet, but it's normally something that he kind of has this hold over, no matter what point in the map it is. You're safe to bet that Dahang has timing over at least Mega and Heavy. Now, using that timing, he has a really good stack to work with. The Dire Orb is ready to rock. And if there is a fight, he has pretty much everything he needs to just delete the stack. However, that movement is going to become a real problem. And Dahang knows there's a lot of pressure to not concede a frag now, because now we've reached the point where if Cha1n wants to, if he's able to get a frag now, he can play the runaway game. He can thoroughly run rings around Dahang. Now the Dire Orb has been used, it's control over all else. Control over as much as Dahang can get his hands on. But they have traded off the Heavy for the Mega. Jump pad's used, but there's no angle to be had, no chance Dahang can get damaged, but he has got a little bit of that information. A dead even split between the items too, Flea. It does open up what is going to happen next.
I do think that Cha1n, or Dahang rather, probably has the better knowledge on the item spawns, because Cha1n showed up towards the previous rotation of Mega like 15 seconds early, going up the bounce pad, sticking around for a moment, and then dipping right back out. So it looks like Cha1n, up until now, when he's obviously going to be able to see it spawn, probably didn't have a good idea of when any of the items were spawning, whereas Dahang, of course, known in the business as one of the best item trackers in the whole world, clearly won't let something like that happen to him. There's 30 seconds left though. This might as well be sudden death.
There's been a delay forced between the two items. Whoever gets this next frag, if it's around now, it's going to be just in time to get the full cycle, which is going to shut down any chance of a comeback. Not that it even matters this late, because 15 seconds, I mean, we are 100% going down to a one frag victory. Dahang had aggression in his eyes first, but he's going to go for plan B. Okay, it didn't work, and now we're going to trade once more. Going to make for a very interesting sudden death now the two items have a very similar timer. Who's going to have the bigger stones to go in? Dahang opening rail. Certainly a good start, but he needs more than that. The orb gets a little bit caught. But there's not going to be a huge punishment here, but very tense moment. Dahang.
Yeah, clipping the wall right there with the orb that prevented him from pushing through with the effect that he clearly had in mind. So we're coming up on the first 30 seconds of overtime, and we've seen in the past, this can take a while. Especially Dahang does not want to drop anything right now. He lost the previous map, so if Cha1n gets the next frag, he will be dropping down into the loser brackets. And of course, coming from the eternal second best player in the Americas, that is no place where he wants to be. Now keeping a nice amount of control of the center area of the map. Trying to get a good read on where his opponent is at. He knows more or less when the items are about to spawn. Mega and Heavy up at around the exact same time, so that could be tricky for Dahang to keep track of both of them. Catches a glimpse of Cha1n. He needs to land a rail right here. Doesn't manage to do so. That would have been a huge opportunity for the American.
But Cha1n's going to be respectful. Both players are playing with a lot of confidence here, but Cha1n's not dumb. He's not going to just push on towards the Mega yet. He knows that Dahang's in a better position. But here we are. Dahang, superior stack. Only 4 rockets so far. I do wonder if he's only 3 now. It'd be quite a scary fight if he gets stuck down here, right as that Heavy's about to spawn. And here's the Dire Orb. Full speed. Cha1n catches some damage. No! Misses the rockets! Dahang gets the final shot right before the second rocket gets fired by Cha1n. It almost felt like if that was anything except for sudden death, that would have been a traded rocket frag.
That was an absolute nail-biter towards the end right there. Could have gone either way with ease. It looked for a moment like Dahang, he went in with the orb right, and then Cha1n had the better first bounce, knocking him back, and then you can easily turn it into 1, 2, 3 follow-up rockets, but it was ultimately such a messy, chaotic fight that Dahang got the slightly better angle for that final exchange, flying up above Cha1n, and that landed him the final shot that he needed to tie things right back up. 1-1 in map score.
But that has opened us up to an interesting situation. Dahang certainly looked a lot more on point than he was in map 1, but yeah, when you kind of go as close as things got to the end of that map there, it's just who has the bigger nerves of steel, I suppose, and that's something that Dahang is not really to shy away from. When it is time to step up, it's nice to see that that was something he could do off the back of the first map, and kind of just some of his general his general play today, that kind of sudden death on any other day, I think he'd have a lot of confidence, but I was very nervous for him, I have to admit.
Yeah, absolutely. Just because, as we were discussing earlier, right, Dahang, his aim seems just a bit off today. That 29% railgun earlier, and look at this, 23 this time around. Such a key weapon, especially on a map like Blood Covenant. So props to him for being able to win a Blood Covenant game with 23% railgun. That has to be said, but still, he needs to step that up if he wants to feel confident going into the final map, because that's Ruins, another larger map, plenty of nice rail angles, and a very important weapon on this map as well.
But it's hard to feel massively convinced after that sudden death, purely on the basis that, I mean, look at how it ended. If there was one rocket from Cha1n, I mean, Cha1n even fired a rocket, I believe, if memory serves. I've had to go back and check the replay, but it seemed a lot like Cha1n fired a rocket. It's just Dahang fired the one that got the kill. You know, that was the one that mattered. If it wasn't sudden death, I'm sure they would have traded it out. So even up until that final fight that the two of them happened, could have very much gone either way. And, you know, not going to use the term coin toss, because it's more than that, but it was too close for comfort for me to be that comfortable in Dahang's ability to just close things out. I strongly think this is going to be a close map as well. It's another open map. Rail matters a great deal. It should be Cha1n versus Visor, so extra information is always going to be appreciated. And we're loading into our final map. Remember, everybody, this is for the right to face head-to-head in the cross-regional bracket against Cypher. So quite the opponent up next, but first they have to get through each other, which is no easy feat.
Looks like we're starting things off on Cha1n's perspective down below towards the heavy. And actually Dahang taking a fair bit of time, leaving Mega up for quite a while. Cha1n, I think, is aware of this though. Just gonna loop right back around for Railgun. He's gonna hear that pickup. This could be a good opportunity for either player to start off with a nice rotation and a good amount of dominant control on the map. Heavy is up 10 seconds before Mega, and Cha1n is the first one to position in, and that rail is going to guarantee him the item. Just by landing that 90 damage there means that Dahang can't realistically push in, and now Cha1n should be able to also make a move on Mega. Although it is Dahang who's first to set up right there. The rail needs to be good right now. He can't be missing all these shots as Dahang slips on through. Nothing. Okay, does land a final shot at the end right there, but uncharacteristic for Cha1n, because we've seen him do such nice things with the railgun today.
But when it matters the most, he's actually able to hit the kill shot. A nice little combo kill from the rocket into the rail. I was very nervous after that first encounter, but these things happen. He's shaking it off, able to get one of those frags already. It's decent stack too, although HP can certainly be a lot better than it currently is. He's at least in position to get the Mega again. He's going to get timing. He can keep that rotation, but for Dahang, yeah, he's just going for some of those what-if shots, just in case. Caught on the jump down. The rocket's good, and the patience to get the guaranteed direct. That's going to shut it down. Cha1n's in a good position for the heavy as well. He has a full set. What even was that rail? Ah, piercing sight, of course. I just saw the timer.
Cha1n has to back away. Is Dahang going to commit to this? Looks like the presence of the turret is going to make him change his mind. Doesn't want to jump down and risk being double tagged by two sources of damage. Cha1n though, even though he's in the lead, definitely on the back foot. Dahang looking to find them out and do some more damage, as he's got himself a really nice rotation going. 10 seconds between the major items. Mega will be up next, and of course he still has that piercing sight to work with. Cha1n right now is in a bad position, and he's got to keep trying to find around these choke points, leaving himself an exit route open.
As you'll notice, Cha1n is not looking for complete control of the map just yet. He is the one that has the lead. And as long as he can have a lot of confidence in his rails, the click heard from around the world. He can steal the heavy anyway. But yeah, running out of rockets there definitely hurts.
Absolutely, and now Dahang starting to bridge the gap. Just one frag behind. Oof. That was still a difficult shot to hit, even despite the presence of the piercing sight. He's gonna find his opponent though. Cha1n defending with the LG, but Dahang at the high ground. Very difficult to deal with, as we all know. Unable to do as much as he would have hoped, and again, this is, I think, the third or the fourth time I've seen Dahang make a push like that, trying to do more damage, but in doing so actually opening up an avenue to the rest of the map that allowed his opponent to slip through and steal an item. So he's gotta be careful not to give up too much of his control in those situations.
There's that piercing sight. They get popped. Dahang. This is an opportunity to get that all-important information. Heavy is the next objective. Timing at the very least. He's heard it, so he knows when the next one's going to be back. But jump pad used. Yeah, risky stuff there from Cha1n. No, there's no way he's going to follow that one all the way through. But now, Mega. That's Dahang setting up Cha1n. But Cha1n, it's got to be said, he hasn't been really sort of prioritizing that full control of the map. He's been very content allowing Dahang to take a couple of them. Speaking of which, there's the heavy. Cha1n going to concede that one. And he's not going to be positioned around the map to fight for it. But he's trying now. Dahang, you just got a heavy. You're going to be hungry. You're going to be hungry for that next item. And because I know it, I'm already set up on the rail angle. A little bit of rocket information for Dahang. Safe to assume he's there anywhere, but every little helps when it comes to damage. And he's trying to go for the sneaky stuff. Dahang, he found an angle, but couldn't quite capitalize.
That's kind of the story of much of these maps. Dahang opening up an opportunity here and there, but just unable to really capitalize off of it. This is a tricky place to be, and turret to the right, Cha1n to the left. He is going to be able to dodge through it though. Mega will be his for the taking. And Cha1n, of course, eager not to overcommit. He knows he still has got that one frag of a lead. 5 minutes left to go, doesn't want to engage when he doesn't need to. Because these engagements, they can go so wrong so quickly.
I do respect the patience that both of these players are showing. It is, to remind everyone, being a final map and all, and the fact that we very well might come down to a single frag of a victory here. Both players know what's on the line. There's no reason to be crazy aggressive yet. The stacks are healthy on both sides. Dahang moments away from that piercing sight that he pops the moment he can. And here comes the fight towards heavy. It looks like the rockets are good, but that LG good enough to at least allow a trade. Now I do wonder what the spawns are going to be. Cha1n spawns. Oh, that's a great spawn. He should be able to get the rocket launcher as well. Spawning with the basic machine gun did put him a little bit out in the open for that LG, but he still comes off stronger and in a better position for this Mega if he pushes forward now, which is exactly what he's going to do. Manages to snap up the Mega Dahang on the back foot a little bit, and now at last Cha1n has a rail in hand. He still hasn't got an LG, but if he opens up with the rail and the rocket at close range, it might be enough if he even wants to take a fight. Right now he still has the lead. If he can keep control and keep Dahang behind, that's going to be a victory in itself.
Dahang is struggling with the turret right now. Cha1n is using it expertly in two ways. He's always dropping it during these fights, which means that Dahang has to swap and be distracted between these two different targets that are attacking him at the exact same time. And then he's also just dropping it basically the moment that he has it ready in a convenient location that he'll know he'll stick around for a bit longer, because in doing so he can continue stealing away those hourglasses that are so important to Dahang, because Visor really thrives with that piercing sight ability, and if you leave that unchecked, you're absolutely going to be overrun. We saw that a bit earlier in a different matchup, so Cha1n is doing a good job at keeping those hourglasses away from his opponent.
He's quite tender after all of this. He has got the lead. There's that drop-down turret in the middle of the fight once more. There's plenty of light health bubbles to retreat to. That rail would have been a game changer, unfortunately, missing the mark and giving his position away for Dahang. He looks like he's on the chase. Cha1n waits for an opportunity for him to jump down. He does. Now he can safely navigate. But safe might not be quite the word I'm looking for, as he is still extremely weak. That Mega is just about to spawn. Cha1n's in position, but he's out in the open. He's railable. He doesn't want that.
Dahang, though, hasn't been able to do much, even though he's been chaining together a lot of the items recently. Still unable to ever really get close to killing Cha1n. Cha1n's blazing a perfect defensive game right now. 2 minutes left on the clock. That's still plenty of time to work with, but Dahang, he needs to be able to find his opponent and deal the damage. And sometimes he's even giving up major items, like just now. Cha1n stealing away the Mega health. It's going to be increasingly difficult.
The safe turret drop. But it looks like Dahang's not going to bite just yet. Barely a delay in between the two items either, and we are starting to get shades of Blood Covenant Flea. This is where we're at now. About to hit the end of this map. Heavy's going to go in the favour of Cha1n. Turret for information. He knows Dahang's near there, but it's a very safe bet that Dahang is not going to press the advantage. Not yet. You keep those even stacks. Quite poetic, Flea, that these two players, we've been recently saying, quite evenly matched. Both players having a solid display here. But Dahang now needs to try and make something happen because Cha1n is playing that defensive game. He has no interest in trying to fight for anything that results in damage being dealt to him and putting him in a bad spot. The turret gives him that extra information. He's likely to throw a turret down again soon, just in case. But it looks like I think he's confident that he knows where Dahang is right now. The turret's not necessary. It will be now, though, just for the setup. That Heavy's 20 seconds away from spawning, and the turret might give him all the information he needs. But as it currently stands, Cha1n is the one with it all to play for. One frag in the lead. Can Dahang crack into this armor, Flea? Uh-oh.
Is this going to be the one? Is the American just going to commit through the chase? Doesn't look like he will just yet. One of the difficulties for Dahang has been that he's been unable to offset the item timings. Here we go, though. He is dropping down. That's a good rocket to open things up with. Cha1n, though, going for the RJ to get out of that situation. And it's actually Dahang who's hurting the most right now. Can he find his opponents?
Cha1n drops down that turret just as a safety net, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to save his skin. Dahang ignores the turret. He knows that's not what's important, and within 5 seconds to spare, he picks up the frag. And we're going into sudden death. It is all to play for, ladies and gentlemen. One more frag's going to do it between these two players to move on to face Cypher. That is a chunky rocket to open things up with. 80 damage. Count it up.
Now we've moved on into the overtime. The sudden death, the next frag will decide it all. The winner gets to advance to the finals day tomorrow, whereas the loser will be dropping down to the lower bracket. So far, Dahang does have a stack advantage. Excellent rocket jump into the rail. This could be difficult for Cha1n. One more shot will do it! And down he goes. Dahang still showing why he's widely considered to be the second best player in all of the Americas. Perfect finish right there. GG, well played.
When the chips are down, Dahang brings the thunder, and he proves it constantly. Up until the last 30 seconds of that map, Cha1n was the one that he held all the marbles. He had the victory, and by no stretch was it a free win. You know, he played that defensive game, and when you're going for the one frag, there's always the chance that, hey, all it takes is one good push or one thing to go wrong. There was a missed shot, which he tried to kind of back up plan with the turret. Dahang had nothing to fear with the turret damage at all. He ignored it, pretended it didn't exist, and he just piled in, and the rest of it was history.
Absolutely, though. Dahang managing to just dismantle Cha1n there at the end. Very aggressive push exactly when he needed to. Loved the rocket jump straight up, then a little bit of a flick rail, and then just finishing off his opponent as he tried to make his way through the teleporter. Dahang played the slow and steady game as we've all seen him do countless times before, and it paid off. Well played.
I was so ready to be spamming the Canadian national anthem on my microphone, but unfortunately, or fortunately should I say, Dahang has pulled through this time. All credit to Cha1n, I think he put up a great fight, but the American monotony of 1-2 Dahang Rafa still stands strong.
Yep.
I mean, ultimately, it's a shame, really. And what I mean by that, I mean, I don't mean that in a biased sense, but throughout the entire map, Cha1n's turret was putting in a lot of work, and it was giving him a lot of information, and quite clearly being a pain in the backside for Dahang. It's almost ironic how right at the last second, that turret that Dahang just didn't have to worry about almost felt like a little bit like almost like a panic turret in a sense, and it just didn't really accomplish much. It wasn't the be-all end-all, of course. It's just a shame that right when he would have probably needed the turret the most, it wasn't there to help him out.
In the end, though, I also feel like kinda Dahang gave his opponent a lot of opportunities nevertheless. At a certain point in that map, it almost really felt like that was Cha1n's game to lose rather than Dahang's to win, and that is exactly what ended up happening, because I'm still not seeing Dahang live up to his full potential. Even after taking away that map, there were a few costly misplays, the aim still not looking perfect just yet.